Welcome to my channel. This is Divested Diamonds. You have arrived. Hello, ladies. Please do me a favor and click the like button as you watch this video. Thank you. Thank you kindly. Well. This happened sooner than I thought it would. Look, I knew that this shit would come tumbling down like a house of cards, but I didn't realize that this was going to happen so quickly. So the number of lonely single men is on the rise, according to psychologist Greg Matos, who wrote an article in Psychology Today that the current state of young and middle-aged men's love lives shows that they need to address a skills deficit. I'm so sorry. Oh my God. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. Okay. I am so sorry. Oh my God. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. Oh my God. That came out of nowhere. That came out of nowhere. Oh my God. Listen, sir, first of all, thank you so much for this. It was much needed. Thank you so much for this. I mean, most of us already knew this. We've been talking about this for a while now, but we've always been met with aggression and hostility. Every time women tell this select group of men to do better, they normally respond with insults, and we know why that is. The truth hurts. There's normally a lot of deflection involved, where a majority of these males would have a laundry list of requirements for women rather than deal with their own issues. It's almost as though these men are the prize. Therefore, women need to jump through hoops to get their attention. Newsflash, most women are fed up. They don't care anymore. So this gentleman goes on to say that he does hear recurring dating themes from women between the ages of 25 and 45, right? That they prefer men who are emotionally available, good communicators, and share similar values. I mean, that sounds pretty reasonable, right? Yet he claimed that he has found that modern men's biggest problem is communication, which is, quote unquote, the lifeblood of healthy long-term love. Ladies, have we not been saying this? We already know this. Most of these men have terrible, and I mean awful, communication skills. The issue with a lot of these quote unquote men is that they don't listen. Most are delusional, and it doesn't help that there's this wave of fake relationship gurus who keep setting them up to be single for the rest of their lives. Like your godfather, Kevin Kittenhill Samuel, said, "You're going to die alone." Except it's not the women who are going to die alone. It's you. Most of you men are going to end up alone. Shall I point out the obvious? He wasn't in a good situation either when he met his demise. I'm just saying. But let's continue. It comes as data shows dating apps are overrun with men who represent 62% of users. Let me repeat that. These dating apps are overrun with men who represent 62% of users. And figures collected here in the US in 2019 showed more men than women were single. Well, will you look at that? Woo! All that crap about all these women dying alone looks like projection at this point. There's been an increasing number of unattractive, simple-minded males lately who've made a lot of money telling women what they need to do in order to find a man or else. Meanwhile, these men are the ones who are hurting. This is why they are so angry. All the venom towards women comes as a result of rejection because, let's face it, most are undesirable. Most of them don't make the cut, and somehow they feel that by being aggressive, women will gravitate towards them. Actually, that has the opposite effect. Dr. Matos said, society fails to teach young boys the importance of communication, which has resulted in growing numbers of unintentionally single men. Yes, indeed. I agree. The Incel community is getting larger and larger, and these men are getting more and more aggressive. They are getting more and more unhinged. I mean, there's only so much porn you can watch. And for those of you hoping to invest in sex bots, look, I've seen your comments talking about that. A bot cannot replace a real woman. But I understand. Desperate times call for desperate measures. And I think that some men's refusal to want to have a mutually respectful relationship with the opposite sex is also the reason most of these men are single. Their lack of knowledge on relationships and what to do once in those relationships is the reason for this deficit. Your gurus have been lying to you. Most of you have turned the idea of a relationship into some temporary, cheap, and disposable pastime, and a lot of women aren't having it. Some of you will take a woman out on a date, not with the intention of trying to get to know her, but because you are looking for a quick release. Most males today are lost. These older men giving you relationship advice are losers. Most aren't married, and all they do is pass on the kind of toxic relationship advice that leads you to a life of loneliness. You gonna learn today? And those of you who find yourselves in this predicament don't know what women want. You're not willing to learn. And fuck compromise. Most of you don't even know what that means. And these are the basics of a relationship. Things are so bad for you that you're going to continue on this downward spiral, finding yourselves by yourselves because nobody wants that BS. Let me show you why majority of you should actually save your money and perhaps invest in a sex bot. Let's take a look.
This post really perturbed me. Stop going out on dates if you're not ready to have sex. What? Then some dusty gonna get in the comments and say, women expect men to take them out on dates and pay, but don't expect us to want sex. I'm saying, stop going out on dates with men if you're not ready or don't intend on having sex. I know the free meal and feeling and looking good is fun, but no man likes to be misled, and we all want to be effed on. So stop playing. Are you fucking kidding me? So I'm supposed to give you some coochie just because you took me out for a measly deal deal. Meal, that's how mad I am that I could go and goddamn pay for by myself. I could go out on a date with my homegirls. I could go out on a date with my mother. I could go on a date with my father. What happened to, oh, we want traditional, we want the feminine, we want this. Well, traditionally men court women. But y'all just think that because y'all take us out for a meal, that literally could be like $50, $100, even $200. That's worth you getting into somebody's womb. I'm disgusted. Y'all get on the internet and cut up and say all types of things, but stop going on dates. If you, whatever happened to getting to know somebody? Men that think like this, y'all must have low self-esteem and no standards, because you just letting anybody fuck on you. Where are your standards? You don't give a damn about yourself. We ain't even talking about health. You don't know what the hell people got going on downstairs. You just think that really somebody's supposed to give you some coochie just because you take them out to get a meal that they could buy themselves. Because please, I always say this, single women take care of themselves. They pay their own rent. They pay their own bills. Not to say that this is what I'm trying to do once I get into a relationship, because I do believe in traditional values when it comes to that type of thing. But in real life, I can take myself out, and I do. And I can keep my legs closed and keep my coochie to myself. Y'all got me fucked up out here. What? I don't like that.
Carry on that way, and you will most definitely be single for the rest of your lives. If you, as a man, think that you can build anything with a quality woman based on your simple, shallow mindset, please invest in a sex bot. At least it won't ask you for anything worthwhile. You can knock yourself out with unlimited sex. You won't be required to use emotional intelligence, which is great because you won't be emotionally invested. And hey, your communication will be exactly as you prefer it. Non-existent. Less talk, no feelings, and at least you're able to get more sex. You don't even have to take your bot out for dinner. It'll be wonderful. But let's continue. So, over the last 30 years, men have become a larger portion of that growing group of long-term single people, explained the psychologist. And while you don't actually need to be in a relationship to be happy, men typically are happier when partnered. He also said the overwhelming number of online dating options has led to both men and women becoming increasingly selective, and competition is fierce. Single men are statistically less happy, more likely to be unemployed, and financially unstable. Data points to the societal changes that have taken place even in just the past few decades, which allows lots more women to make informed choices about their relationships. Look, times have changed. Women are no longer interested in inheriting some of the self-destructive habits of older generations of women. Women today have more opportunities as far as career, self-improvement, what they want in relationships, what they are willing to accept or not in those relationships. It's a fine time to be a woman. Now, while dating might be hard, in a day and age where most men aren't living up to women's expectations, there's one thing that remains the same. The expectations, the needs and wants of women in relationships haven't changed. Contrary to popular belief, older generations of women got by with very little in marriages back in the day. And one thing they were really good at was masking their pain and disappointment because they had to play into societal norms and put on a performance for fear of being ridiculed. They had no power The power dynamics in those relationships was always lopsided. Women had no power at all. Most of those women were not happy. They did what they had to do to survive. The modern woman doesn't need to do all that. Women have always been the ones making compromises. Today's challenge lies with the men who are unable to meet these standards. Unlike older generations of women who didn't have much choice in their relationships due to limited opportunities and resources, today's woman isn't willing to drop her standards just to make a man feel comfortable with his inadequacies. No, sir, it's not happening anymore. You see, I often hear people say how wonderful things were back in the day, and notice how such comments usually come from men and not women. Listen to how they talk. Modern women this and modern women that. The fact is, there's very little difference in expectations between older generations of women versus the modern woman. I can't speak for everyone, but I'll say this. Most decent women who are about something will tell you this as well. They want to be treated with respect. They want to be loved, cherished, cared for, and not treated like some rental property that you can just swap out once you've had enough. Also, as we continue to get more and more technologically advanced, I have noticed how we are regressing as humans. Most people today don't know how to conduct themselves in real life. They know exactly what to do in your DMs, but once you're in front of them, most are socially awkward with horrible, and I mean atrocious personalities. It's almost as though the existence of technology and social media specifically is planting delusional behavior in people's heads. They need to learn how to be human because they've gotten lost in the sauce and don't understand their own humanity. And of course, Dr. Matos highlighting this issue wasn't going to go down without a fight. You know what they say about a hit dog. Oh, they came for him. And I can only imagine that those who attacked this man for pointing out the obvious were those to whom the message resonated. They finally left their incel communities triggered. What can I say? The truth hurts. The exposure was like salt on a wound. How dare this man expose the truth, right? Who does he think he is? So, since the report, Dr. Matos admitted on his TikTok page that he has received hate mail from male followers and offered a response, saying he's only inviting them to be the best version of themselves. And of course, there were those who praised him for a job well done. Look, he's got my support. And I'm not saying this because he went against a specific group of uninformed, delusional men. This situation had to happen because there's a lot of misinformation out there when it comes to relationships, but especially what women want in those relationships. These men are constantly talking about wanting a submissive, feminine woman, not realizing that in order for that to happen, there are certain requirements that have to be in place to achieve that. Femininity can only thrive in the presence of masculinity. The problem with some of these men today is that they are living in a constant state of delusion. They look back at their grandparents or their parents' relationships and want to replicate what it is that they understand those relationships symbolized. But what they don't know is the amount of work it takes on both sides to keep those kinds of relationships alive. People want to be in relationships, but aren't prepared to do the work. Every single time that you have two different personalities working together, it's not always going to be easy. There will be challenges that come up occasionally. And you need to be able to sit down and talk about those issues without biting each other's heads off. You need to be able to deal with things with a certain level of calm, even if you're upset. Express yourself, but more importantly, use your words to get your point across, and do it respectfully. The issue with the current dating market is that it's filled with uncouth people who seem as though they were raised in barns. No manners, no respect for women, and lack the ability to conduct themselves in a proper fashion, yet they are looking to have relationships similar to their grandparents or parents in some cases. You want women to take you seriously when every other word in your vocabulary is bitch and hoe? Huh? You must be out of your mind. And let's address the financial instability, right? Men and women are different. Women receive and create something better with what they're given. Men are givers, providers, and protectors. It's the simple order of our humanity. We have different functions, but what we're constantly witnessing are males moving the bar every single time for women based on their deficits. If you are dealing with a low-earning man and he's attracted to you, right? But knows that he's unable to provide you with what you need as a woman, why is it incumbent upon you to lower your standards, meet him at his level, make him happy, while leaving yourself unfulfilled? Does that make sense? Why would you put your wants and needs on the back burner to accommodate someone else's shortcomings? Women have been doing this forever, and it hasn't worked out well for them. They end up in these lopsided relationships, unhappy, and wishing that they had chosen better. Why must women continue to do this to themselves when they can just vet these men right out the gate? Nobody, and I mean no one, wants to take on a bad project. It's like knowingly taking on a bad investment, but expecting something good to come out of it. It's a bottomless pit. It's a loss, a waste of time. A lot of these males are so insecure that they will ask a woman what she brings to the table. These are the same men who want you to be able to work a full-time job, cook, clean, and if you have kids, take care of them single-handedly, look sexy 24/7, or else they'll look elsewhere for that. And as DZ would say, they want you to F them like a porn star. I mean, the expectations are so unrealistic. You're basically expected to be Superwoman and love it. If I have to do 80% of the physical and financial work in the marriage, what do I need you for? If we were living together and you want everything, and I mean everything, split in half, what do I need you for? Are you my roommate or the man that I'm in a relationship with? Which part of women are naturally hypergamous do you not understand? Men and women are different. Our needs and functions are different, and that must be respected on both sides. If you can't compete with real men, men who know what they're doing as far as women are concerned, relationships aren't for you. Most women want masculine men who know what they want and what they're doing. Stop putting women in masculine positions and then complaining about it. A woman will take on masculine energy in the absence of masculinity. That's a well-known fact. A lot of these males today know nothing about relationships, and these numbers speak for themselves. Very telling. And let's not forget how some of these men expect heterosexual women to accept their alternative lifestyles. Yes, I'm talking about you, bisexual men. Men who want to normalize dating them, knowing absolutely well that they double dip into two types of dipping sauce. With all these STDs and monkeypox flying around, it'll be a hard pass for a lot of decent women who care about their well-being. There are alternatives for women too when it comes to sex. I'm just saying, sometimes plastic is fantastic. And sometimes rubber makes a better lover. I'm just saying. Woo! Honestly, I'm so glad that this has happened. It gives women the opportunity to weed out the undesirable from the desirable. Only strong men who understand how this works will weather the storm. All you have to do is take a look at who's really mad. You will find that these are the same men who find it challenging to navigate the dating scene. Unattractive, broke, delusional, entitled, socially awkward, morally inept. Do I need to continue? Meanwhile, real men who love, respect, and honor women are flourishing. They're not worried about these findings because they understand how all of this works. Ladies, we shouldn't be worried about the weakest links. Let them fall off and perish. And ladies, please don't allow half-baked men to force you into jumping through hoops simply because they don't add up. If you choosing better leads a lot of women to being single but happy, then so be it. Personally, I would rather be single than have to put up with a man-child looking to be in a relationship with a mother figure. Don't set yourselves up for failure, ladies. It's not worth it. In the words of Gwen Guthrie, ain't nothing going on but the rent. Now, if you don't know who Gwen Guthrie is, she was an American singer and songwriter who also did backing vocals for Aretha Franklin. She wrote a song in the 80s that I think would be a perfect hypergamy anthem. The first part of the song says, "Bill collector at my door. What can you do for me? Hey, no romance without finance. No romance without finance. Boy, nothing in life is free. That's why I'm asking you, what can you do for me? I've got responsibilities, so I'm looking for a man who's got some money in his hands. 'Cause nothing from nothing leaves nothing. You got to have something if you want to be with me." The next line says, "Oh, life is too serious. Love's too mysterious. A fly girl like me needs security. 'Cause ain't nothing going on but the rent. You got to have a job if you want to be with me. Ain't nothing going on but the rent. You got to have a job if you want to be with me. No romance without finance." I said, no romance without finance. You know, it's such a great song and speaks to the nature of women. There's nothing wrong with wanting something out of a relationship. Men do it all the time. It's a mutual exchange. The only type of man who will shame you for being this way is a broke man. Broke men are defensive. They sure are. When it comes to these relationship situations, they fall short. That is why they expect you to put out on the first date. just in case you decide to never see them again. At least they get to feel better about themselves, and the sex justifies whatever little money that they spent on you. I mean, they could get an escort or a streetwalker, but they don't want to spend whatever money that these ladies are charging these days. But yeah, we're going to continue seeing an increasing number of lonely men because men today have lost the plot. They don't know what they're doing. They have no emotional intelligence to sustain a good, healthy relationship with the so-called modern woman. Like I said earlier, the needs and wants of women remain the same. The only difference between us and past generations of women is that we are able to vocalize what we want and need because we have choices. A lot of these past relationships, not all, but majority of them, were held together by patience and tolerance, and by the fact that the power dynamic was unequal. We no longer have to downgrade just to meet the weakest links at their level. It's their responsibility to catch up with real men who know what relationships are all about and how they work. Never drop your standards for any man. And I think that the following gentleman totally understands the topic at hand. Let's listen.
So at this point, I'm assuming we've all seen the article about the rise of lonely men because relationship standards are rising. And this reminds me of my favorite thing I've ever seen. I'm not too sure where it originally came from, but when I saw it, it was a tweet that said, when men no longer were a necessity, they had to become likable, and that's where they're failing. When they were needed for bank accounts and properties and to exist in society, they could get away with being shit, and they've held on to that mentality even though that's no longer true. When they existed in this time and they had that bargaining trip, they can exude control and they can dictate what the relationship roles were, ones that benefited them. But now that they don't have this anymore, they are still taught this mentality, and it doesn't work in their favor. Because if you think about it, any relationship based on control and dominance, where one side is getting everything and the other is just giving, it's not going to last long. Why would anyone want to be in that? I mean, there is times and places for that, but not your entire lifestyle. And I think this is why people are flocking to those influencers who are talking about feminine presenting people in the same manner, saying they can control them, that they can demand this out of their women, and this is the standard, and how they are high value men. And let me tell you, it's not going to work. It doesn't work for them. It's not going to work for you. It just doesn't work. It's a facade to sell you a pyramid scheme, you dumb bitch. So the more you try to be this controlling entity in a relationship that was outdated 70 years ago, the more lonely you are going to be. And the longer you listen to these fringe voices telling you, oh, that's how it used to be in the day, that's how it should be today, the longer this period in your life is going to last. So do yourself a favor and stop. The rise of standards in any situation is usually the best outcome. And the more that you rage against this and say how you do not like it, the more you are telling on yourself, and doing so very loudly.
Woo! Oh yes, I totally agree. On that note, what are your thoughts on what's been discussed here today? Please leave your thoughts and comments down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And remember, ladies, no romance without finance. No romance without finance. Thank you so much for watching. This is Divested Diamonds, and I'll see you next time. Bye, diamonds.